Hello and welcome to Teenagers Untangled, the audio hug for parents going through the teenage years. I'm Rachel Richards, journalist, parenting coach, mother of 2 teenagers and 2 bonus daughters.
Hi there, I'm Susie Asley, mindfulness coach, mindful therapist and musician and mother of 3 teenagers. 2 of them are twins.
Let's go straight into it. What's your nugget today?
My nugget is, I always take something that's just happened because my memory's
like
not great. So yesterday. So my kids are away at the moment. They are at their dad's. 2 of them are at their dad's. And we are going on a bigger family holiday a bit later in the summer. And my daughter wants to buy a whole load of outfits. Of course, she, they're all absolutely essential and she can't possibly go without them. And I looked at this. So she sent on text. So we text a lot when she's away. We don't ring that much. It's just, I don't know, habit, I guess. And I was like, well, they all look really lovely. You can really see why you want them. And let's cut this list down. And she's awful at making choices. I'd say this to her face. She finds it really challenging to edit stuff and choose. She finds it really hard to choose. So she went away. She was going on a big long bus journey over there, and so she sat and she edited and she took a few off. And I sent me and I was like, yeah, you need to. It's not going to cut it. And we were going anyway. Long story short, we were going backwards and forwards, and it got to the point where I was beginning to get a bit irritated. To be honest, it was like, come on, like. That's too many things. And yes. I think I've been quite clear, but I hadn't. I guess my nugget is that sometimes I think I'm being super clear, and I'm not. She needs, she just needs specifics.
So, like what? Like this many.
This top is this number of tops. This number of. You don't need 5 bags. You need 1 bag. For example, I'm exaggerating, but kind of. That's not appropriate for where we're going. And she doesn't get it, so I need to be really specific.
Because she's a teenager and she needs coaching with this stuff. Doesn't she?
And we can so quickly think that they're being, spoiled or entitled or not understanding. And in the end, she said, "Mum, should we call?" I was like, "That's a brilliant idea." And that was much easier. And we had a real laugh going through it actually. And she was going, "Well, what about that one?" And no, are you sure? Okay. But we presume so much, don't we? They need specicics. And then she was like, "Oh, okay, I get that."
No, I love that. And I think we all fall into that trap, don't we? All of us. Mine's kind of, it's about these girls who came and stayed with us on holiday, and 6 girls, and they don't eat anything. Girls don't. It's amazing. I mean, I have to say to the fathers and mothers who are feeding sons, my heart goes out to you. It's a very expensive exercise, really expensive, and takes a lot of shopping. But the girls, I'm just like, well, I bought some breakfast. Oh no, we're not hungry. It's fine. So that was amazing. Wow. But they did eat breakfast, and it was a complete mess. Like I had beautiful surfaces, all clean that I'd cleaned. Total carnage. Yeah. And I took a deep breath because they all disappeared off to go and get their clothes on because we wanted to go down to a lake. Yeah. And when they came down, I said, "Oh, girls, we can't leave until it's all packed away and in the dishwasher and everything. So come on, let's clear it up." And it worked like magic. Yeah. And my daughter said to me later, they're not used to doing all of that, but the way you said it just meant they just didn't mind. Yeah. And I did that just today when my daughter wanted a lift to the shops. Yeah. And I said, "Oh, yeah, no, we just need to unpack this dishwasher quickly." "Oh, I've just got to run upstairs." Dishwasher was unpacked, everything put away.
Oh, that's good.
Top tip. So if your kids want something, just throw in the job just beforehand and really light-handed way and just go, "Oh, we can't leave until that's done."
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, I love it. I'm going to steal that.
It really works. It's
and
great.
Be specific as well, a bit like my nugget. We need to do this and this and this.
It's this and this.
Okay.
Yeah. And make it simple.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So, and
so
your review. Have you got a review there?
I have got a review, which is called Incredibly Helpful.
Ooh.
I found your discussion on reducing nagging through routines incredibly helpful. The practical tips for managing common teen challenges like bedtime, healthy eating, and screen time were spot on. I appreciate the focus on adapting successful strategies from other parents. Looking forward to trying these in my own household. Wow, thank you. That's really helpful.
And that's actually, I need to do that more. I need to ask other parents, what are your tips? Because I found it incredibly helpful. I learned a lot from other parents all the parents going, well, it's a routine. And you go, oh, okay.
Brilliant.
I hadn't got that one.
Yeah. No, it's
right. So I will do that more. Grateful parent. You have such a wealth of inspiration and support to me with my 3 teenage boys. Whenever I felt at a loss, I just dip into one of your podcasts and immediately I get reassured by the voice and sound and honest advice, which helps me navigate this difficult journey of being a parent. That's Natty.
Oh, that's
Natty,
so
thank
lovely.
you. Thank you. I'm glad we're making a difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, you've got the 3 hungry boys. So,
yeah,
extra kudos.
Goes in phases, I think, the food boy thing. Like sometimes they're growing and you're like, you've literally just eaten and there's like a loaf of bread disappearing.
I had a barbecue and we had like most of them were boys. So there were girls and then boys. And I suddenly thought, oh dear, I should have doubled
the bread.
Doubled the quantities. No, they weren't eating carbs. They were eating the meat.
The meat, yes.
They all just, I had a big pasta salad. And they were just,
yeah, no, that's true.
On, boys, eat some carbs.
Yeah. But then I find with mine anyway, that, they'll eat me out of house or home and then suddenly the growth spurt stops like overnight and I've been shopping and then suddenly I've got loads of rotten food.
Oh gosh.
It's like,
that's even
can I have a warning please on these growth spurts? When are they starting and when are they stopping?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, so today we're going to talk about another question from a listener. This is an anonymous listener. I know you're from a blended family, so I thought you might have some advice or strategies. I have 2 older stepsons. The eldest flunked his A-levels and left with 1 very low grade and the other is about to do the same. So, really not good grades in the mocks. My husband, their father, is a great role model job-wise. We both earn well, but he's not really the best communicator and communication's lacking with both parents. So I can't get to the bottom of why things are going wrong. There's no drive from the boys, no deep conversations, even holding part-time jobs is an issue. Next step conversations don't come to anything. And I find the distance with them not living with us is really hard. As a stepmom, I haven't seen online school reports or been to parents' evenings. So she's just suffering from that kind of distance.
Yeah, that's really challenging.
But she clearly cares, which is lovely. Is it too late now? And, they're adults, they're nearly adults. How do I best help them focus and understand and plan for adulthood? Should we still be taking them on family holidays? And theoretically, should they be earning their own money? What about mobile phones? Things like that, right?
What are they? They're 19 and 17.
Yeah. And I have got some episodes which I put in the podcast link. So there are lots of things that address some of these things. So we won't talk about absolutely everything, but I can point you towards them. So have a look through there to see if there are any that really answer the bit that matters to you. I feel like it's a huge ship to turn. I'm not in the driving seat. Help. Am I part of the problem?
Oh, golly. Ooh. What a minefield.
It's a real and
actually, she sounds like she just really cares. It's coming from a really beautiful place. And it's problematic, isn't it?
And as a step parent myself, I totally understand how uncomfortable she feels about this because you're not, we did a piece on step parenting. So please listen to that. And the whole thing is, it's not your job to do the disciplining. It's not your job. In a lot of these boundaries and things can't really be done by you. But it's really hard because you can't help loving these kids and really wanting the best for them. And it feels gut-wrenching.
And her hands are really tied because it's really depends obviously on the family and the children and her partner and all of the communication, how they normally communicate. But it can be so easily misinterpreted. People can take such offence. It's a bit like walking on ice, isn't it?
Yes, and that's when, in my response to her, I did actually say, one of the things that I think happens is when you've got 2 separate parents like that, it can be difficult communicating. If the 2 people aren't very good at communicating with each other, which is very often the case, it's very easy for one to be thinking the other person might be doing this thing because they need clear and consistent boundaries and expectations. So the one parent might be doing this and the other parent's doing this and they're both thinking the other person's doing something and they don't know. And if you're not actually having meetings or chatting about how things are going or what you're trying to achieve, then it can just be very confusing. Like, what are we doing here? And I do think that we assume that our kids know we love them and that we care about them and that we care about the outcome of things they're doing, not necessarily the grades, but that we just care about how they're getting on. But sometimes we're not very good at explaining that and showing that in a way that comes across as this genuinely matters to me, rather than you have to do this because I need to feel good about being a parent, right? It's subtle, but it's actually really hard to get right.
Yeah.
And I do think it's incredibly difficult when you've got neither parent wants to piss the children off.
No, potentially, we don't know the situation, do we?
But I think often that, when you look at families in those situations, it can be very hard because neither of the parents, if you're thinking, oh, well, there's, we don't want them just not wanting to come and see me. This very often plays into that dynamic where you just feel like, I don't want to be the hard parent. I don't want to be the...
And there's also, what struck me, she sounds like she's amazing and she's a beautiful stepmom and really cares and has her own kids as well.
She doesn't have to be that kind of stepmom.
No,
so
that's really valuable for those lucky boys to have that kind of stepmom. And also, there's maybe they have different agendas. Maybe her way of parenting is different. I have no idea, but it just struck me. Maybe it's not such a big problem for the others, obviously. You
mean for the boys?
For the boys, for the parents, for both, for all involved. That obviously nobody goes into an A-level course wanting to flunk it, obviously that. But maybe they have, maybe they have other things lined up, or maybe they have other ways of being. We don't know, we don't get any of that information. But, we have different ways of being, measuring success, don't we?
Absolutely.
What's the agenda behind?
Yes.
And perhaps, she has different goals and ways of thinking that children should be in the world, or they're not children anymore, but you know what I mean. And that's worth taking into account as well. What's her need in it? What's her why is it there are obvious things. Obviously she wants these boys to not fail because that feels horrid, and what are they going to do instead, kind of thing. But what's her need in it? It would be worth looking at, I think.
I love that. And I think I think she's got children of her own, hasn't she? So she's going to be looking at them thinking, oh, well, they're setting a precedent, and she's trying to organise a life that she wants, which is going to play into it. And she doesn't say how the husband feels. We don't know.
No,
so
maybe
that
he's
makes
completely
it difficult.
cool with it.
Yes.
Maybe his values are different, and there's no right or wrong in it. And maybe they're looking at other ways of, being a success in their life, whatever that even means. And of course, there's real issues in it as well. But it's worth just having a look at why is this so important to her? Apart from the obvious.
I think always sit and say, why does this matter to me as much as it does? So you love that point. I want to pause for a second and actually kind of just focus in on the fact that these are boys. And the reason I want to do that is because I've been reading so much about boys. I don't have boys, but I'm very genuinely concerned about shifts in society in the West, and about how boys feel about themselves in the world and how they become young adults. Because I've talked to lots of young men who really get stuck and struggle when they leave school without the structure around them. It's very, very difficult. And I've had people come back after I did the Failure to Launch episode with Ken Raybo saying, we need more on this. So there are two books that I'd like to sort of zone in on. But the first one I'll start with is called Boys Adrift by Dr. Leonard Sax. Now, he's written other books, but this one is really interesting because here's the subheading: Why America's Sons Are Underachieving and What We Can Do About It. This book came from a presentation he gave to parents. And these parents raised concerns about the development of their sons. And the problems range from lack of motivation to acting out at school and home. And so he did the research, after these talks. And he came up with 5 factors he thinks are behind. Now, you could say, what is this real? But he talks about a growing epidemic of unmotivated boys and underachieving young men. There are statistics behind this, which are in the other book that we'll talk about. So one of the points he makes is education has changed. Students are expected to enter into rigorous study at a younger age. And both he and the other guy, Richard Reeves, who wrote Of Boys and Men, and who works for a think tank in America that's trying to help boys. They both talk about the concept that we're putting boys into school too early. And they talk about redshirting, which is holding them back, giving them more time, trying to sit a boy down and force him Yeah, right. So you
I
relate to this.
wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yes. And that they're not getting the time to do the other things they need to do before they sit. They're not developed enough. And so by the time they get to, I don't know, adolescence, they're like, I am so done with this.
I'm done with school.
Yes.
I've been told from the age of 4 when I couldn't sit still that there's something wrong with me.
Yes. Yes. So this is a key thing they both talk about.
Yeah.
All right. Video games. So this is Dr. Leonard Sax. He says he identifies first-person shooter and violent video games as specific problems. And in these environments, he says boys can control their world and experience dominance that they just can't get in the real world. And it leads to a detachment from reality and a desire to just go back in and escape into that fantasy.
Yes.
And we've spoken to a lot of parents who said, I can't get my boys off the video games. And they seem to be spending huge amounts of time. Like they'll go into the holiday period and then they're in their rooms playing video games. And why wouldn't they?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it's really fun.
And it's really interesting because there was research done, and I don't have it all with me, but Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was governor of California at the time, looked at reports about issues with these shoot 'em up games, which are unbelievably violent and bloody, and you get rewarded for the catastrophic things you do to other human beings. And he decided that they should place restrictions on access for boys. So in other words, the parents would have to go in and buy these games. And he was beaten by the gaming industry, who evoked the First Amendment.
Wonderful.
Right. So there's that. Then Leonard Sax talks about ADHD medication. He says there's a growing number of students who have been prescribed stimulant drugs. This is in America. I'm not talking about ADHD generally. I don't know anything. I'm not going to project anything onto this. And he says they may not actually have the disorder. And he says there's a correlation between the dependence on stimulant medications and a lack of motivation and drive. I have no comment on that. I don't know. Environmental toxins. He talks about that. He says there are chemicals in plastic that are polluting drinking water and changing sex development in babies in utero. Don't know. Role models, very interesting. Like, I think this should be higher up. But anyway, there's a disconnect between males and their sons. And in cultures that have endured for hundreds of years, there's a distinct process where older males train young men how to be men.
Yes.
And how to treat a woman, how to behave, how to provide, and so on. And he says the rituals of passing on the torch, there's just no process.
No.
And I think that's really poignant.
Interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, there are lots of cultures, aren't there? I mean, tribal ones where they, they send the boys off. I can't remember the age, and I think it's different in different places, where they send them off into the survival skills with the men, away from their mothers. They cut the umbilical cord. Off they go, and they come back. And when they come back, they are men.
Susie, when I was on my honeymoon in Malaysia, we did a trip into the jungle and we were escorted into this camp. What they do to prove their manliness is they have to kill 3 monkeys with a blow dart.
Oh, God.
And then they can provide for a wife. So then they can take a wife. So they do this about the age of 13.
Okay.
Guess who decided he'd have a go with the blow dart?
Oh.
And my husband. And then we spent the rest of the honeymoon with him in hot sweats, being very sick. Anyway, I made another honeymoon. So coming back to this, my husband tried to prove that he's a proper
so
man.
Funny.
I could feed my wife if I wasn't so sick. Anyway, so now on to the think tank research fellow, Richard Reeves, who wrote Of Boys and Men. He points out that girls are outperforming boys in most academic disciplines and rapidly closing the gap in those in which boys lead. Not just in schools, in universities across the Western world. And in the US, 57% of bachelor degrees are now awarded to women.
Interesting.
The problem with men is typically framed as a problem of men, writes Reeves. It is men who must be fixed, one man or boy at a time. And he says this individualist approach is wrong. Instead, he maintains there's a structural problems, societal issues. We need to be looking at men generally, not just, looking at your son going, oh, well, what's wrong with you, right? So he's trying to focus the spotlight on these structural issues. So his thing is red shirting. He's also talking about
redshirting, as in holding them back.
Holding the boys back. He's advocating for giving boys a longer run up to education.
They could all benefit from that, in my humble opinion, but, especially the boys.
Yes, well, yes, of course. Yeah, that's your big thing, isn't it? And one of the other points he makes is that we need more emphasis on career and technical education, which they ripped out of the English educational system a few decades ago. We used to have polytechnics, and then they were turned into universities, sort of rebranded, but we didn't need a rebranding, because actually we need those things and we need those jobs, and we need to say that they're important.
Yes.
Because boys aren't going to want to do stuff that doesn't feel important.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's very big is a lack of male teachers.
Yeah.
Especially in the younger grades. Here's a question for you. How many teachers do you think? I was really interested in this and thought, is it just America? Maybe it's just America. So I looked at the English statistics. Mm-hmm. So I looked at the Department for Education, and it said how many teachers there are in the UK. How many do you think there are?
How many teachers? Yeah. Oh, goodness, I've no idea.
500,000, just under 500,000.
Okay.
What percentage do you think are female? This is in 2023, June 2023.
Primary or secondary or both?
Very good question.
Yeah.
Susie, go to the top of the class.
Thank you very much.
Overall, 83% are female.
In primary? Or in
just
overall?
At secondary school teachers, so I moved and I thought, come on, let's have a look at the secondary teachers. It's around 63%.
Gosh.
And the reason this matters is because boys are going into a school environment and predominantly being taught to by women.
Yeah.
So you're not getting that sense that this is important to men.
No.
And we can't escape the fact that they are boys and they need role models and they need to be able to look to something and go, I want to be that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's really important.
It's really important. It's so important. I remember that time because I was parenting on my own, and I was very aware. I had a boy who was 6, 7, and a younger one, but it wasn't as relevant to him at that point. And I was looking around and he didn't want to go. He refused to go to Cubs, or he went to football, which was male coaches. It's like, right, great. They need male role models.
They really do.
Super important.
They really do. And it can be very challenging. And, let's say you've got their father, he's not around much because he's at work all the time. That's a good role model. But is it? Because there's no connection there. They need that connection. They need to sort of be able to look in on the world and say, this is how I am as a man. This is how I become a man.
It doesn't have to be like quantity necessarily.
No, it's the quality of connection.
It's like connecting, even if it's just on the Saturday or something, it's looking and saying, it's not, I'm not just surrounded by nurturing women.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not, to be fair, it's actually, there aren't, it's not, if you've got a partner who is not very present and connected, it's not that he's broken. It's quite common. And actually, we're just, men are becoming much better at doing this kind of connection and communication. But it's a steady, slow trickle rather than a gush.
But I think it's
hard.
Maybe it's more complicated in home life, obviously. But I think in school it's really, really relevant, isn't it? Because it's sort of hierarchical, isn't it? And if you're only getting women surrounding you, it's not. Some kids are fine with that, but some suffer with it.
Yeah, and you can't get men to go into workplace if it doesn't look appealing.
No,
you can't force men to go and do these jobs. So,
and there are some amazing male teachers. Amazing.
Yes,
and it's really.
I've met quite a few.
Yeah,
and our government has actually woken up to this issue in April 2024. So just now, MPs have announced that they'll investigate why boys lag behind girls at all ages of education. So it's genuinely a thing. So if you're a parent at home in despair, you're not alone.
No,
this is actually a thing.
Reassuring, isn't it?
That's why I wanted to go into this, because I think it's really important, because we parents sit in our own bubbles going, what's wrong with my child? And we really need to understand there are people out there who are in think tanks really concerned about this and trying to do something about it. So don't feel alone.
No, I mean, just based on my own eyes, it seems to me that some boys seem to find it quite hard to take responsibility, and I don't know how that's connected. Like they know they get the same information, but I don't know, somehow it sort of glides off them that the working hard ethic, or some of them do, and it depends on their friendship group, and I'm just spouting from my hip.
No, it does actually. Yes,
but it's this kind of idea that it's maybe it's someone else's fault that they haven't done well.
Well, also, in that book that I read by Dr. Leonard Sax, if I remember rightly, he was talking about the culture. And he said what's happened is we've created this culture online of not really working. He said we have never had a successful culture where boys are made to feel like it's okay to stay in your mum's basement till you're 25 and playing video games. And he said, but that's actually happening. And they're like, no, I'm fine with that. I don't need... And he said, I'm talking to more and more young men who go, no, I don't, I'm fine. I don't really want that job. I'm not interested. He said, that's never been a thing.
No, that's really true. But I see, and again, based purely on my own personal experience, which could be absolutely wrong or not representative at all, but girls seem to take like too much responsibility for when stuff happens to them, like, oh, it's all my fault. And the boys, it's their fault. It's nothing to do with me. I don't know if there's anything to base that on, but
write in. Please tell us, what is your experience? We would love to know.
It's not my fault. It's the system. It's the school. It's the exam was hard. No, it's probably because you didn't actually do it well. No.
Come on, it's not me. So coming back to this lovely stepmom, I personally, I look at this and I think there could well be some rabbit in the headlights of both parents, where they may sense that there's something going a little bit wrong, or they may not. They may be happy with what things are, but they don't really know how to do anything about it, and hoping that somebody else will do something about it. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe this woman's worrying unduly, as you said. It could be that they're all. I think maybe people need to communicate, and actually say how do you really see this, and also with the boys. I wonder whether those boys, whether they really know that people care that much about what they do. And I'm going to say that because I know I've made that mistake with my daughter, where I wasn't explicit enough with her about what my expectations were, and that I genuinely cared. And I cared because I believe in her, because I think she's worth more. And I realized that with some kids, they absorb things really quickly and easily, and they're like, yeah, of course you care, and you're there all the time, you're always helping me, support, scaffolding things, and then other kids, they just don't pick up on that at all, and it needs to be very explicit, and you saying, just so you know, I really care, I really can see that you are worth so much, you have so much to give, but we're not seeing it. What can I do to support you? And are you seeing that? How do you feel? Because I also think that one of the things she can do is, like, first of all, she needs to touch base with the other people in the family, like the parents in the family, and she could. So we talked about this in the step parent episode. She has a very special role that she could play. Yes. But she's a woman, so it's slightly different. But she could be the coach. So she can be the person who's on the sidelines going, you know what, boys, I think you're amazing. I think you've got so much to give. And I'm just wondering how you feel about your situation at the moment. Let's not dwell on where you're at right now, but let's look forward. What do you see your life being? What's holding you back from getting a job? What's holding you back from, what are you interested in? And then actually keep it going down into so what's stopping you? What's stopping you? What's stopping you? And letting them talk in a way that's non-judgmental.
Because
they're probably stuck.
And she has to, there are many ways she can do all of that. I think that's a really beautiful suggestion. If that is appropriate, and if it feels comfortable for the family. We don't really know too much detail, do we? But I mean, I'm sure she could play a really important role of just letting them know that she's, she really loves them, and maybe she's already done that. We don't know that. She sounds like she's very loving.
But I think I think there's a difference between, because that's the mistake I made. Because I'm always I show my daughters my daughters hugs galore, lots of love. But I think it's this leaning in and saying, I am not here to judge you at all. No. I'm here to help you figure out what you want, and let's go piece by piece through this. This does not happen overnight. This takes quite a bit of time.
It does, and we can do it, and she can do it with with the parents as well as maybe touching base first as a way of like in this, I kind of call it holding up a mirror in a really gentle, non-judgmental way. Like, I'm seeing this. What I'm seeing that they're, doing this and this and this, and I'm a bit worried about them. What are you? What do you think about this? And,
exactly.
And then you can do the same to them. I'm just seeing this, and correct me if I'm wrong. Like, make it really like I'm just tiptoeing around, noticing. Is there anything you need help with? Do you want? How do you feel about it? First and foremost, is it a problem for you? And how can we help you in it? But this is what I'm seeing, because there are some facts, aren't there, that you can't really run away from.
Yeah. And I think Ken Raybo was talking about this and talking about how getting support in structuring things and saying, okay, what you do is you just peel away the bits and pieces. So what's going on here? What's going on here? What's going, without any judgment?
Yes.
How can we? So what you need sleep.
Yeah.
You need adequate sleep. Yeah. You need exercise. Yeah. You need to eat reasonably well, and you need to have a goal. We grow up from our why. Yeah. So they need a why, and helping them try and find that could be the kindest thing she's ever done. And I've spoken to men who are late 20s who said, I found that so hard when I was at that age, because I didn't get enough scaffolding, and I didn't know how to ask, because you don't do that if you're a man.
No, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. And I like your point as well, as it's not an overnight fix, is it?
Oh my goodness,
it's a process. So she could almost kind of offer it like, this as the mirror, this is what I'm seeing. What do you think about it? And if they go, I'm fine. Yeah. I don't need any help. Oh, okay. I hear that you're fine. You think you're fine. Okay. I'm just a little bit concerned. So just so you know, if you change your mind, I'm here. Yes. And it could well be they go away and they go, oh, I really need that. But they need to collect themselves. They need to think about it. And then, maybe a few weeks or even months later, they go, do you know what? I do need a bit of help. But
I also do think you can't be like, so when my bonus daughter graduated, she sort of sat around in her bikini, relaxing in the sunshine, getting a bit of, and that was great. Yes. But then I said to her, so, right, now what? Yeah. And she was going, oh, I just want to relax. And I said, yeah, but while you're relaxing, can you be thinking about, and I think we can't just let them slide. We have to say, so you are going to have to find a way to make a living in your world.
I'm just thinking you need to think about that. Stepmom. Yes, that's absolutely. Much harder for her to do. So she can really only offer it.
Yes, no,
and
absolutely.
They can only jump on. But as parents, we can absolutely do that.
So they may want to have a family meeting about it, or we know these boys need to find a way through life. So does it need to be CVs? Yeah. Do I need to take them to play? Whatever.
And even if it's just, it feels to me like she needs some reassurance in it. She's absolutely. Really worrying, and that must be really difficult. And she's got her own kids. I mean, they are her own kids, but her own daughters. She's really worrying, and that's a horrid space for her to be in. She needs some reassurance somehow.
She needs reassurance
to be able to mother, and be okay in the world.
And in terms of holidays, phones, things like that, you don't have to take them on holiday. So I want them to slowly start to launch themselves. So when my daughter went away with her friend and she said, oh, can you help out? I said, I'll reimburse the mother some, for her, the accommodation, because they'd taken a villa. And I said, yeah, absolutely, I'll give her. But you're paying for everything else. So get a job. Because it's this kind of, I said, really I'm not paying for you to go and have holidays with other people. No. And if we go on holiday, I would love you to be with me.
I think you can do that differently. I love that. Like this summer, for example, I'm taking my elder boy on a lovely holiday. There's no way he could go on that. And then he wants to go away with his mates, and he's got to find the money for that. I'm not paying for that.
Exactly. So you're paying to be with them, which is the right message. Is like, really I love being with you. You're special to us.
And holiday is like the best connecting time. So if you take that away, that's slippery slope, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And it's as long as, when they come on holiday, they want to be there. Because if they don't want to be there, then that's really terrible.
Well, can you make them go even? Like,
I don't know. And the other thing was, there's sort of, their phones. Incidentally, at 18, they can take out their own phone contract, and that helps them build up a credit rating. Yeah. So it's worth looking at, restructuring all of this and saying to them, by the way, you do actually have to pay it, and you can help them. I mean, you can have an allowance with them, but it's about getting them we've got to slowly shift them into understanding that you're not doing everything. They have certain skills that they need, And one of them is paying their own way in the world.
And teaching them those skills, which you're really brilliant at teaching them. So you're not just going from one day to the next. Oh, by the way, I'm not paying your mobile anymore. Like, that would be awful.
You go through phone contracts together. You say, what do you think is what matters to you
How
most?
much can you pay?
Yes.
How much is realistic?
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually doing all of those things slowly inches them towards understanding how the world works. And so you don't even have to focus at the start on, them getting a job. You can focus on the other things that make up a life, like shopping for food. This is what it costs to go shopping for food. This is what it costs. Get them involved in all of that so they can see.
It's an incentive to go and get some money, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. But it is really, she sounds lovely, and it is a very difficult space to be in as a step parent, because your hands are quite tied, aren't they? Especially if the communication isn't open.
Yeah.
But maybe she can be the change in that family.
Exactly. And I think that's what she's itching to do.
Be the seed, but she has to do it obviously, and I'm sure she's aware of this, in a gentle, non-confrontational, non-judgmental way. I need reassurance here. Can someone help me, kind of thing.
Yeah. So there are a few episodes I'll put in the link dealing with a blended family. So, step parents, failure to launch the Ken Raybo thing about kids who are struggling, money, my system that I had with my daughters, setting high expectations, because that's still relevant.
God, that's hours of listening, poor lady.
And then charging rent, which was really interesting.
That was a good one,
I learned a lot from that.
Yeah. Do you know, whenever I hear, because I have a literal brain, which drives my partner insane, and my kids, the word blended family is like we're all in a blender. I find out every time I hear the word, I see us all spinning around.
That's really funny. I think that with the name Claudia, I just think
clouds.
I think I always think it's like it's Claudia. Yeah. Claudia's arrived. I'm like, no.
Oh, she's light and airy.
The sunshine?
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I hope this helps. I hope we've secured something for you. What do you think of the episode? Tell us.
Yeah.
Did we get it wrong? Did we get it right?
I'd love to hear about the boys, though, because it is super interesting, and it's like it almost feels like it's something that is really changing at the moment, and it would be really nice to have a bit more.
And you're really helping us.
Yeah.
You're helping all of us listeners, because we're all navigating this stuff. Like I said, we are not alone. There are all these other parents struggling with the same things, and you bringing this up has really helped us unpack it. Yeah. And then maybe we've touched some things that other people can help.
And the boys thing is tough. I mean, I hands up there. It's tough.
Yeah. You can message me using teenagersuntangled@gmail.com. Leave a review on your podcast platform or on the podcast website, which is www.teenagersuntangled.com, or message us on social media. On that platform, that's where the search engine is. So you just put in a keyword, find out whether we've talked about it. If we hadn't, let us know.
Yeah.
Susie, you can be reached.
My website is www.amindful-life.co.uk.
And she's also on Instagram. She's on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And mainly on LinkedIn at the moment. I kind of flit about a bit.
Yeah. And I had a message on Instagram from a woman saying, oh, wait, I heard something about you having a Facebook group. Can I join it? What is it? And I'm like, I am so bad at that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so bad at the Facebook thing. I find it really clunky. I'm sure there are other people who do amazing groups. I'm not one of them.
I always think it's good to focus on one and do that one well.
I think so. Yeah, so I'm really apologise. But we're just a group this way, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, have a great week. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye for now.